I just took another test. It's not first thing in the morning. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I feel like I am seeing a faint line. You want to see?
No way. Take it again, I don't believe it.
Just staring at it. I'm like, wait. No way. I'm like, no. Oh my god. This is our boy, and he is not being replaced.
Boy.
We actually have some news. Baby. Baby.
A baby. Oh my gosh.
Oh my god.
A little peanut?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. Joking. Oh my god.
Wait, what? Are you serious?
You're pregnant.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I fucking knew it. I knew it. Congratulations. I'm so excited.
Congratulations, I'm gonna cry. I'm actually literally crying.
Want to know if you're having a baby, boy or girl? Oh, it is a girl.
So sweet.
We're having a girl.
We're having a girl.
Okay, so let's get into it. First of all, I'm very, very excited. Nathan and I, my husband, we are pregnant. The bump is really bumping. It happened in like the last 2 weeks that the belly's been making its way. But yes, we are very stoked. We could not be happier. I thought about posting this on my second channel because that's where more of my personal stuff goes these days. But honestly, pre-internet analysis, I used to do, exclusively personal videos on this channel. So I thought this topic was deserving enough for a main channel upload. Before I get into things, if this is not your cup of tea, if you're just not interested in pregnancy or parenting content, that is totally fine. I'm not going to become a mommy blogger. And I also know that pregnancy, fertility, kids, babies, all of this can be a very sensitive topic. If you're not in a headspace to watch this, that is totally fine. And I will be back soon with regular videos. It's funny because this has been so transformative and like earth-shattering already, and in the past few months, especially before I was able to announce publicly, it's just wild to have such major news and not be able to talk about it. And now that I can talk about it, I'm like, oh, I've got a lot to fill you in on. What do I say? I did ask for some questions on Instagram in case anybody wanted to know anything in particular, and a couple people asked just generally when we knew we were ready or if we felt ready, if this was planned. And yes, this was planned. But in terms of like readiness, I feel like that is such a difficult question to answer. Nathan and I have both always wanted kids, but in terms of timing or if we should wait until the exact ideal moment, what does that mean? I think ultimately what it came down to for me was like witnessing a couple of our friends having kids in the last year, and I was like, feeling the little baby fever, but more so it was a longing of like, I'm already going to cry. I was like, oh, we could wait another year or two. We could see where things are by then. But honestly, I was like, I want to meet our future children as soon as possible. Like there was kind of a snap where we were like, maybe the time is right now. maybe we can start the process, so to speak. Anyway, fast forward to me actually finding out that I was pregnant. I became very involved in all the pregnancy, trying to conceive subreddits. I'm a big Reddit user, but it has been a valuable resource, okay? Justice for Reddit. That's a topic for another video. So yeah, I was learning like all the vocabulary, the timing, the science, really refreshing on basic biology, to be honest. So I found that very fascinating. But anyway, so I started to take my pregnancy tests like as early as you possibly can, even though you know that at that point it's going to be a very faint line, if anything. And I'm looking back at my camera roll in this video, I had taken a test, looking so hard and being like, is that something? The classic, like, is it an evaporation line or is it real? A few days later, same thing, taking more tests, seeing a little bit of something. It's crazy looking back because it really is like such a faint line. Spoiler. On that note, I want to talk about the whole like finding out I'm pregnant, telling my partner I'm pregnant videos, because even though I am a content creator, I had interesting expectations, because like I love a good shock moment on camera. I can't help it. I love to document my life. Even if I don't want to share it necessarily, I'm like, I want to see how I reacted. I'm obsessed. Wow, a YouTuber who loves to film themselves. Never heard of such a thing. So it was kind of funny, me filming these first initial tests that were like very faint and they weren't digital. So I was like, I don't really know how to interpret this. Then I took one that was like, okay, maybe I should take more. And then I ran out. So I had to go buy more. And Nathan knew I had been taking these tests, but I was like, I kind of want to still surprise him, but I had to tell him that I had to go to the store. So then I came home, I took another regular test and a digital test. And I'm already thinking, I'm like, wow, if I'm pregnant, holy shit, first of all, that hasn't even soaked in at all. But I'm like, but what about the video? What about the reaction? And I know this is a silly thing to think, but I was like, I want to make sure I have a reaction that's not like, oh, yep, okay. I mean, whatever. Any reaction is fine. People react in very different ways. And I was like, I kind of feel like I spoiled it for myself and him already, which is a silly thing to think, but that was one thing that crossed my mind. Anyway, then I did the digital test, and as I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and then I saw it come up, I burst into tears immediately, and everything felt very real in that moment. Just seeing the digital pregnant, I was like, oh, wow, okay. Confirmed. And then obviously I called in Nathan. He was just in the other room and I was like, hey, and he knew I was taking it. So we walked in and he's like, I think he was just in shock and also didn't know how to react, because I think in that moment for both of us, it still felt very early. It didn't feel real. So I find that very interesting. I'm still fascinated by the dynamic of pregnancy reveal videos. So after that, because I had just purchased a lot more tests, I just kept testing like twice a day, which I know is absurd, but I was just excited to see the line get stronger and get a little more confirmation that like, oh, this might actually be real. Because like, again, in early pregnancy, it can be a very anxious time, especially if you're finding out extremely early. So I didn't want to get my hopes up too much. But it's a weird thing because you're like, this is real, but I almost don't want to think of it as real yet. Oh yeah, I just remembered, because I was like, oh, I don't know, like I'm having some symptoms, like blah, blah, blah. And Nathan was like, I noticed. He's like, usually before your period, you have your PMDD rage, which is true. I have been struggling with PMDD, and it makes me like extremely angry at the drop of a hat, just naturally, like for a good period of like 2 weeks. So it's a very difficult thing to go through, among other symptoms. But yeah, he was like, but you haven't been angry. And I was like, oh my God, that's so true. That's a major one. And honestly, I will say, like, yeah, PMDD is a nightmare, and I feel for anybody who goes through that because it is really rough. Being pregnant and not experiencing PMDD for the past few months has been so nice. Anyway, continuing on, the first video that I filmed while knowing I was pregnant was this video, and I was so nauseous and so tired. It was the biggest struggle to get through that video. I was like, first of all, how am I even supposed to get dressed and sit up, let alone read words and be on camera? That was so difficult, but I had to do it. By the way, that was another major thought, was like my first trimester was pretty rough. Like I had like a lot of nausea, and it lasted all day. I had a lot of food aversions. I was just always gagging at everything. And yeah, like the overwhelming exhaustion is just a lot. But just the fact that pregnant people have to not only go to work, but like because of cultural things, like you can't even tell people at work, oh, sorry, I'm acting this way, or sorry, I'm sick, I'm pregnant. So yeah, just the fact that pregnant people have to go through that silently, and the fact that we don't get like pregnancy leave. We know our social safety nets are insufficient, but honestly, I'm like, this is a major one. And again, I'm lucky because I'm a YouTuber who works from home, so I was able to like just lay on the couch kind of as much as I needed. It is just really, really, really rough. And I feel for everybody who has to like go to a job and pretend that they're totally fine through months of feeling like that. Okay, then I have a picture of us at the doctor, and if you know something about me, I am typically a very anxious person, still true, but I have gone through years and waves of like health anxiety. I think I have a phobia of veins. Like not exactly blood, but like veins. I don't even want to look at my veins, don't want to think about them. It's horrifying to me. And typically my experience getting my blood drawn, I'll go for like an annual physical. The last one I did late last year, I very nearly passed out. Had the vasovagal syncope kind of response. It was not fun. And I was like, oh no, I know that in pregnancy you've got to get your blood tested a lot. If I'm like fainting every time, that's going to be really difficult for me, and I don't think I'll be able to cope with that. So I went for my very first appointment with our OBGYN, got our first little ultrasound before there was really anything to be seen at all. But then I started my blood tests, and they were like, hey, we might need you to come back in like 2 days and then 2 days after that because we want to see the levels rising in your blood. And I was like, multiple blood tests in a week? I was like, I don't think I'm gonna panic. I always wear headphones and listen to music during blood draws just so I can like be distracted. I close my eyes. But I started a new routine in this pregnancy where I lay flat because I think that helps me, not pass out or feel like that blood pressure change. Lay flat, headphones. I wore compression socks, which may or may not help. I don't know. And I brought an ice pack to hold and like kind of distract me with the sensation. So every time, we see any of the nurses at the doctor's office, I'm like, oh, hi, do you know me yet? I've got a whole routine. Sorry. Excuse me. But luckily, I've been great. These blood draws so far have been totally fine. I still get nervous about them every single time, but they've been quick and I have not felt that fainting sensation. And I'm getting braver every time. So I genuinely am very proud of myself for that because, it's a struggle. Now, talking about the gestational diabetes test that I've heard so many bad things about, I'll have to get that in however many weeks. And I am scared about that, but I'll have to be brave. Gotta do it. But yeah, I will say that, I luckily through pregnancy so far, at least after the beginning, few weeks, and definitely after 12 weeks, I have not been anxious about the pregnancy really at all, which is again shocking knowing me, which I'm very grateful for. Yes, I've been surprisingly chill and not Googling very many symptoms. Anyway, now that I'm chatting and gabbing, and I could continue all day, but I'll cut myself off. I got a couple of other questions that I thought might be interesting to start with. Someone asked fears, excitement, plans ahead, and someone else asked, are you scared to raise your kids? And I interpreted that as is it daunting to think about raising a person, which absolutely it is. And that is intertwined with that fears and excitement question as well, where it's obviously the thought of parenting, the thought of raising someone is terrifying. I've thought about how I was raised, how Nathan was raised, and we've talked a lot about, what we would do similarly or differently. And I know that these are all just theoretical conversations, and once we're actually experiencing it, we might change our minds on certain things. But I do think there's something so beautiful and magical about the thought of first of all, meeting your child. I love babies in general. I love meeting anybody's baby. I think it's such a cool thing to witness. But yeah, the thought that we are going to have a daughter, and every time I say that, I almost cry. And she's going to be a little bit me and a little bit Nathan, and who knows what she's going to be like, but I know she's going to be the coolest, and I just can't wait to have conversations with her and get to know who she is as a person. Are you kidding me? What a treat. Yeah, I think for Nathan and I, we're just looking forward to just the new addition to life and all of the other things that parenting brings. I obviously know it's going to be exhausting. It's going to be a lot, but just the simple parts of witnessing someone growing up and shaping them and living with them, and also them shaping you. Hello? You think I'm not going to change as a parent? You think my child is not going to have a profound impact on me? I know this might just sound like I'm talking about totally naive rose-colored glasses parenting experience, but obviously I'm having a dreamy time about the wonderful things I'm looking forward to. The realities of the struggles will happen eventually, and we're ready to weather those storms as they come. But yeah, overall just very exciting. Just what a magical thing. I know you guys don't hear me talk, in a more cutesy, flowery way, but yeah, this is genuinely a topic where I'm I'll get cute about it, okay? I will. And yeah, again, when it comes to raising your kids, parenting philosophy, I already have multiple topics of videos that I would like to make, certain things that I'm interested in. For example, the phenomenon of over-scheduling your kids, because I was raised as an under-scheduled child. I was very good at school, but didn't do any formal extracurriculars. most of my life. There were very few. So I was a kid with like no structure, a lot of free time, a lot of just like roaming and playing with my friends and figuring things out. And I think that made me a cool person, but also like the thought of doing that as a parent and like giving those same freedoms to my kid is terrifying. But I know that letting your kid being independent and giving them the space to explore and potentially get hurt, make mistakes, like that is an essential part of raising a kid. And it's such a struggle because I can be overbearing and controlling even with like my siblings, my loved ones. Like I'm like, send me your location. So I know I'm gonna have to resist that, and that's gonna be hard. Another recent thing was like, have you seen those TikToks of people saying like, oh, my 9-year-old daughter came home from school and she was crying because kids made fun of her because she doesn't have a Stanley, she has an off-brand water bottle cup thing. And those kind of topics get me heated because I'm like, let's dig into that shit. Again, as a kid who was not raised with like anything really name brand or like designer, like fancy little items, like how do you as a parent navigate those kind of conversations? Do you just give in and buy your kid the Stanley so that they fit in? I don't think it's that straightforward, at least. It's like, how do you teach your kids not to be like materialistic or obsessed with like status symbols? Does some of that come from you and how you live? Maybe. Anyway, clearly, some of these topics have already been ruminating in my brain, and I'm just so excited to be able to dive into more of these topics. Again, not just because I'm going to be a parent, but like I assume that those experiences in the future, I'm sure, will help color my opinions. But I do find parenting topics interesting already, and even pre-pregnancy. Obviously, I've talked a lot about like family vloggers and that whole phenomenon. So it's been years that I have had opinions, and I think that these are really interesting topics to explore. On that note, someone asked, thoughts on how we'll be sharing our kid, or if, emojis over the face. And unsurprisingly, as you would probably assume, I am not going to share my child online. I don't know exactly which capacities, but I could see myself leaning on the like very private end. I'm definitely going to be thinking a lot about like not just digital safety, digital footprint, but trying to give my kid the autonomy that she deserves. Yeah, if anything, like I feel like that's easy for me, but it's a little bit harder navigating that in terms of like other family members or other people in your life. It's like you've got to establish those boundaries, and how do you go about letting people know and sticking to your boundaries? That'll be an interesting one. And last question was, how's Clark, my dog? He's sleeping over here. How's Clark doing with the pregnancy so far? Has he been a little more attentive? Has he been around my belly or anything? I don't think he knows anything yet. Sometimes he always lays next to me. I'm the favorite couch person. But I don't know yet if he has noticed anything with my belly. Are dogs able to like hear like the heartbeat, or do I smell different? Probably. But we've definitely been thinking about like how to slowly get Clark prepared to be a big brother, and how to limit his jealousy or attention-seeking behaviors, and also like trying to plan to make sure he gets adequate love and attention while we're going to be obviously very overwhelmed with a newborn. So that'll be interesting, but I'm also very much looking forward to seeing Clark and baby interact. That is going to be the cutest thing ever. I'm so excited that she will get to grow up with this sweetie doggy as her best friend. That's so cute. He's sleeping right here. He's so precious. Okay, I'm going to start crying again. Love that. I mean, that's normal. That's not even pre-pregnancy. I literally could cry at the drop of a hat. One slightly emotional commercial and I'm in tears. What's that about? Anyway, I think that is all for now. If you watch this whole thing, thank you. Again, Nathan and I are just so very excited. And yeah, it's just so surreal. Like some days, sometimes the reality really hits. Like the other day, like I actually thought about, I was like, oh, my belly is growing. And then I was like, my belly is going to keep growing. And like, there's really a human baby inside here and she's going to get pretty big. And I was like, oh, just suddenly aware of the reality of the physical situation, Sometimes it really hits you. It starts sinking in. But anyway, very excited. I hope I can be as productive and active on YouTube as possible, especially leading up to the birth. I'll talk to you guys maybe in a second channel video in the future about what I'm hopefully thinking for like maternity leave, but obviously as a self-employed person, that can be very tricky. And as we all know, the YouTube algorithm loves to punish people who leave for any amount of time. That's gonna be something. And even making videos after she's born, I'm like, how am I gonna do that? How am I gonna have the brain power? But we'll make it work. Anyway, thank you again. Stay tuned for future internet analysis videos that are normal. And I hope you enjoyed this one-off little personal catch-up. Cheers, santé. Okay, thanks, bye.